It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It is a Health Tuesday, and we've got to get into chatting about gut health in particular. Now, in recent years, the topic of gut health has gained significant attention for its profound impact on our overall well-being. I don't know if you knew that, but if you didn't, you want to stick around for this chat, because from digestion and immunity to mental health, our gut plays a crucial role in maintaining a healthy body and mind. And this morning, we're thrilled to have seasoned dietitian Catherine Day alongside Dr. Minaj Bagwandeen, a general practitioner with a special interest in medical aesthetics, to discuss practical ways to improve and maintain gut health. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm very interested in getting into this conversation.
This is a big one because I think we all deal with it.
Yes.
We all have guts, and if the gut isn't functioning like it's supposed to function, we are not happy people. Yeah. Doc, Catherine, once again, thank you very much. Doc, let's talk about it. We just spoke off air. I mean, there's a direct link between your gut and your mind. Obviously, a bad gut is going to influence your mood. But before we get to the mood, let's talk about health. There's bacteria in the gut. It sounds not right when we say it, but it's good to have bacteria. Talk about that bacteria in your gut, what it's supposed to be like, and also how does it affect your health?
Yeah.
Well, good morning, and thanks for having me back on the show, and good morning to all the viewers. So let's put this into a little bit of perspective, because as you say, it does sound a little bit weird knowing that these creatures are living in and on us, right?
Yeah.
So as a species, as humans, we've actually evolved with this symbiotic relationship between what we would call good bacteria and ourselves. So we give them something and they give us something in return. To put it into quantity, it's estimated there's something like 40 to 100 trillion bacteria and other organisms that live in and on us. To put it into a weight perspective, about 1 to 2 kilograms of our actual weight is made up with these organisms that are not actually us.
There's a thought.
Yeah, exactly. So that just gives you a perspective. But what's happened over our evolution, we've incorporated these into our ability to survive the environment. And these bacteria, especially within our gut, largely are responsible for our digestion of the foods that we eat. Our bodies themselves cannot actually digest most of the foods that we eat. These bacteria do it for us. They then present the broken down components of the food to our systems to be absorbed. And in so doing, they also manufacture certain hormones, vitamins, etc., that we cannot manufacture ourselves, but is essential for our survival.
My goodness.
You've already mentioned it's an integral part of our immune system. It's actually the largest component of our immune system, our gut system, and these bacteria play a vital component in that. First, they act as a first doorkeeper or protector by allowing, let's say, the more dangerous bacteria not to invade our systems, and secondly, they directly regulate our immune system. Then we also know they directly affect our metabolism. Studies have shown that people who have a disrupted normal gut microbiome are more likely to have certain metabolic conditions like diabetes, or more prone to things like obesity, etc. Sure. And lastly, a very important component is what you've mentioned already. This is the direct effect it has on our brain, on our mood. And this we refer to as the gut-brain axis. And there's a direct link between the bacteria, our gut system, and our brain with regards to hormones, etc. So it's a vital component of our survival and our ability to function.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Doc, for that. It's a lot in there, but I'm absorbing it because, wow, like you said, I mean, it affects everybody. We all have a gut. And speaking of, I mean, from a dietitian's perspective, I know you spoke about digestion, and fiber comes up a lot in conversation. So I wonder the impact fiber has, and what sort of foods contain fiber?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we always think of we need to feed ourselves, but we also need to feed these bacteria that are living in our gut. Sure. And fiber is what they eat.
No, you can't be selfish now, people.
No, totally, right? And so we need to make sure that we feed our gut a variety of fiber sources, because there are, as we learned, trillions of bacteria in our gut, and they all actually eat something different. So variety is very important, and then fiber is important because that's what they eat. And fiber is found in plants. That's where fiber comes from. So bacteria don't eat protein, they don't eat meat, they don't eat fat, but they eat fiber. So we need to make sure that we are getting in enough fiber through what we're eating every day. And fiber is found in fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, again, just think plants.
Yeah. Fascinating. You know, there's so much going on in the gut, and with all of that bacteria as well, you can understand also by what you said earlier, if just the slightest bit of confusion happens in the gut, it can affect your overall mood, like you've mentioned as well, because there is that direct link. But I got to ask about stress. We do live in high stress environments, fast-paced lives. How does stress act on the gut, and what does it mean? What do we need to know?
Okay, so as you correctly say, stress affects us all, and it affects us all in different ways. And you'll find the stress response largely accounts for an increase in what we call cortisol levels. But even before that, stress can directly affect the internal environment of our gut, and in so doing, affect the environment that these necessary bacteria function in. The cortisol will then cause disruption in the gut lining, and we need an intact gut lining to function properly, to keep things out and allow certain things to pass through. And then we also know that stress directly affects the nervous system. So in other words, when we're anxious, we tend to get this queasy sensation in our tummies, etc. But when it's a prolonged stress feature, we tend to have constant stimulation of the gut, causing us a condition called irritable bowel syndrome, bloating, pain, cramps, diarrhea, etc.
Which in turn will affect your mood.
Which absolutely and then obviously, like I mentioned, there's this direct gut-brain axis, and this has a constant to and fro interaction between our brain, which directly affects our mood through the neurotransmitters that are secreted or not secreted.
Oh, sure.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I think this all kind of links together because, Catherine, I want to talk about processed food. Like, we do live in a very stressful environment. It's very fast-paced. We're always on the go, no matter what your
Looking for the
lifestyle looks
easy
like.
options.
Yeah,
Convenience
quick, easy.
is key, right? So processed food, should we be eating it? Should it be, in moderation,
Limited.
or just cut off completely?
Well, if you think of processed food and you think of the gut microbiome, processed foods often don't have any fiber in. So essentially, if that's all you're eating, you're not feeding your gut bacteria. And again, these are live organisms. They need to eat. So unfortunately, when it comes to quick and easy, it is so quick and easy to go for that quick, easy option. But for your long-term health, it is something that won't aid you very much, because processed foods mostly are high in sugar and also contain quite a lot of the unhealthy fats, which only drive inflammation. And 80% of our immune system starts in our gut. And so, if you're promoting a constant environment like that, that's why we have heard things about, your gut microbiome being linked to all sorts of diseases, including obesity, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's. So yeah, it's really important to look after those microorganisms.
Yeah, I see,
the
and that's
long
where
term, I like
I think
that.
the term balanced diet, is being put under the spotlight here to make sure
Totally.
protein, fibers, all the different macros and micros get in there to keep it healthy. We are going to continue with Catherine and Dr. Bagwandine in just a bit, talking about how we can actually go about keeping the gut healthy with all of those organisms. It does sound weird. We've got to feed them. It's like something out of Alien.
Worth of it.
But I mean,
that freaks me out.
It's us. It's how we function, and we got to look after it from the right perspective. So stick around for that chat in just a bit.
It's my feel good breakfast show.
A very quick break and we are back. Welcome to your Feel Good Morning Show. It is, of course, Expresso on S3, and we're continuing our discussion on gut health, exploring how our diet and lifestyle choices can actually make such a big difference. And we, of course, have our experts on the couch, Dr. Manoj Bagwandine, as well as dietitian Catherine Day. They're here to help us understand the benefits of things like fermented food and the effects of antibiotics, and also how to tailor our diet for better health. I think that's what everybody's trying to go for. We want to live longer, and also we want to live well, right?
Yes,
live
totally.
healthily. But it's a fully encompassed look at this. So maybe, Catherine, we can talk about something that I've seen trend everywhere. I'm talking sauerkraut, I'm talking kefir, I'm talking kombucha, fermented foods. The favorite F word that seems to be on everyone's lips right now. Is it good for us? How does it benefit our gut health?
Well, basically, fermented foods is putting bacteria back into your gut because of how they are made. They are made through fermentation. So as long as you have a healthy gut bacteria, it's really good to put these in, because what I like to think of when I think of your gut microbiome, there's some goodies and some baddies, right? And basically what the fermented foods do is they add more goodies into your gut. So they compete with the baddies, and that overall promotes a healthier gut microbiome. And in South Africa, I think we forget that we have our own fermented food, amasi. which a lot of our population do consume, which is a wonderful fermented food. Also something like yogurt, but the yogurt has to have live cultures in. That's also a good source of probiotics. And then you get your other more fancy ones, like the ones we've mentioned as well already, yeah.
So the idea is to have more goodies than baddies, is what you're saying, or a balance of the two?
It's always good to have a balance. You know, you'll never eradicate the baddies completely.
Right.
As we mentioned, it's a relationship that's within the gut. But, you know, the whole idea around maybe why IBS becomes a problem, one of the theories is that there's an imbalance or in the gut bacteria.
Okay. Well, I think one way to sort of combat a lot of this is really improving our overall wellness and our lifestyle factors, right? I think in Cape Town, it's quite easy because you can step outside, go for a walk, grab something healthy to eat on your way there, and cool, my day is sorted. But how does our lifestyle really impact everything we've spoken about today and that relationship that we've got to maintain in our bodies?
So, as we've already mentioned, you know, keeping the balance within your gut is integral to our general well-being. So making sure we have our fiber regularly, making sure we are having these fermented foods regularly, making sure we are avoiding exposing ourselves to the pathogens, the bad bacteria out there, and you know, recognizing if and when we do that, what to do. Staying properly hydrated is a vital component to this. As we mentioned earlier, controlling our stress levels. Exercise, taking walks, avoiding stresses, enjoying the sunshine and a beautiful environment we're actually blessed with. These are all vital components to managing this. Then obviously, direct lifestyle changes like controlling alcohol and smoking. You know, cut it off if you can. Make sure you're eating properly, eating timelessly, eating raw whole foods as opposed to the easily available processed foods. And then an important part, if and when you do actually need an antibiotic, make sure it's used appropriately. We know that antibiotics by and large can be used inappropriately, and if when used inappropriately can cause a disbalance in the system, causing us further harm.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because it is that season where lots of people are, you know, falling ill. Antibiotics seem to be within arm's reach. So it does actually impact our gut directly.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So you know, antibiotics are absolutely fantastic when they're used appropriately. In other words, when we use an antibiotic, they have what's called a broad spectrum of antibiotics. In other words, they're not very discriminate with regards to what they kill off. So when we take it, it's going to kill off the good bacteria and the bad ones that are causing us harm at that time. And in so doing, it disrupts this fine balance that we've described. And when this happens, the bacteria then cannot function as they normally should, giving us all the benefits I've spoken about. It can actually damage the lining of the gut itself, which makes it more permeable to and fro, and obviously causing us issues. So my suggestion is, you know, if you ever need to use an antibiotic, make sure it's used appropriately. Make sure it's prescribed by a registered practitioner, a healthcare practitioner. Use it as prescribed. And if and when you do, use a probiotic with it. Use a prebiotic with it. Make sure you're taking your fermented foods with it. Hydrate yourself properly. And always remember, if you're taking any medication, antibiotics included, if you develop any symptoms or any untoward side effects, please notify the prescribing healthcare practitioner as soon as you can to sort it out.
Well, Doc, that was a beautiful segue because, Catherine, I did want to ask you, you touched on it earlier, about this prebiotic and probiotic chat. Can we get it in a pill? Is it something we can eat? Like you mentioned, some yogurts have it as well. So what is this chat all about?
So probiotics, they can be found in foods that we've just discussed. And then some people do find it quite helpful to take a supplement. I think, you know, when you're taking supplements, as almost with antibiotics, you do have to make sure that you're taking the right strain at the right dose. You know, I think that is very important. Also, there are different strains that are used for different conditions. So, for instance, I wouldn't recommend someone use a specific strain that I know is good for IBS in particular if they had thrush. So there's a lot of good research out there because probiotics have been around for quite some time. So strain and dose is very, very important.
Okay, so many notes to take down. I love it. But I also love that you've included quite accessible points about lifestyle changes and also including just more raw foods in your diet, right? To ensure that balance. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Catherine, so much for being here. We look forward to the next chat because best believe there will be one. Maintaining a balanced diet, of course, and managing stress and making informed lifestyle lifestyle choices, like we mentioned before, do play a vital role in supporting our gut. And that's exactly what we want to do.